Hello, my name is Gray and I am back with another tutorial video today. So, let's just take a walk up here. This is again from my survival project series. We are going to be doing a bit of a tutorial slash build analysis of this one here. I've had a lot of requests for this one in the past. It's probably one of my favourite builds that I've done on this world, and it's designed primarily as my sort of storage system. So if we come inside, you can see I've got all my storage everywhere. So it's not really a build that has to be used for a storage system. You could turn this into a dojo. There's loads of different things you can turn it into as I fall off of the trapdoors. So I'm going to jump into a void world and we will take a look around and break this build down. Of course, there will be a world download link in the description below, so if you want to download it, go ahead. Just do all those things if you're going to use it. Share where you got it from and just let people know. But yeah, let's jump into a void world. So here we have the build sort of remade. The only difference is that we don't have the sort of step way up, and that won't be in any of the breakdown either. I mean, you can come up with multiple different ways to sort of get into it. In the one in my world, it's literally just this platform comes out a little bit and then sort of dips down at a bit of an angle, like that, and then sort of circles its way back in. But we don't really need that for this, for the sake of this tutorial anyway. You can work out a whole bunch of different ways to make it so that you can get from the ground and up. But yes, as you can see, I am in my resource pack again, which means we've got some issues when sort of converting this world for people to just use in general in vanilla Minecraft. So let's take my textures off and we'll see what this build looks like without them. So yeah, it doesn't quite look as great. As I said in the last video, resource packs can make a big difference. So I've already gone around and sort of converted everything over, and if we fly just over here we can see what the sort of differences are. Now again, I don't think this looks as great, but that's the beauty of a resource pack. But I do think it works, and I do actually still like the way that the build looks in general. So basically we've had to change quite a few little things. So these jungle trapdoors obviously don't look very good against everything else. They're a bit too much of a light colour and it just contrasts a little bit too much. And again, the jungle trapdoors up here, they're the main problem with this build. So all of them had to go, and then the birch trapdoors here just don't work. These are sliding doors. So how did we fix this? Was by just changing them over to oak trapdoors. It doesn't quite look as good as the resource pack does, but it does work, and actually it gives you a little bit more vision from the inside. You can sort of actually see what's going on outside. Yeah, so just from the inside you can see we've got a massive amount of space. But yeah, I think we've fixed this up quite well. There's a few gaps. I built this pretty quickly, to be totally honest. So basically just fill those in with whatever blocks you're matching it with. So if you decide to do your roof in a different colour, then, or a different colour in a different wood type, then just remember to swap that over. So let's sort of analyse this a little bit and see what's going on. So what's kind of typical of traditional Japanese builds is the build itself is actually raised up off of the ground and there's a bit of airspace underneath. Now this is a bit of an extreme airspace, but I think it works on the actual scale of the build. Like if this was a bit smaller, then it wouldn't work so well. But because this is such a big build, it does work with such a large sort of gap. So yeah, it's a pretty enclosed building. You can't really see anything that's going on. The only bits of light coming through are through these acacia trapdoors, which in the original resource pack that doesn't happen, but I actually quite like the way that looks. It gives it a nice little pop of colour, and it matches along with the little pop of colour we got going on the side there. So yeah, as I say, typical Japanese builds, there's a bit of an air gap. We've got the sliding doors in place, and we've got this sort of slightly curved roof, which from the outside has a very gentle curve, and then along the edges of it we start off quite shallow, and then get steeper. So we start off going up in increments of slabs. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slabs, and then we go into 4 stairs, and then we're at the final point. And again on the roof, not quite so much of a curve, but we've just curved the edges there just to add a cool little detailing effect. So what I have done is come along and broken it down into little bite-sized chunks so you can sort of build each bit as you go. So I've broken all of this down into a bit of a more bite-sized look at the different sections. So you've got the sort of floor layer here, and you can see all of the sort of structural blocks in place with the dark oak. So dark oak is the sort of primary colour of this one, and it's a very, very dark colour, so we're brightening it up with some stripped oak wood and obviously all of the oak trapdoors and the oak wood flooring and that. It just helps brighten the build up a little bit, gives it a little bit of a more contrasty feel. So yeah, you got your sort of base layer here, which you could pause the video here and sort of follow the design. There's a dark oak blocks there, dark oak logs, 1 slab gap, dark oak logs, then there's a 5 dark oak, and then that's a 9 dark oak, 5 dark oak, 1 dark oak, and then dark oak planks again. And then it follows a sort of similar design on the side here. So you've got dark oak blocks, dark oak logs, 1 gap, logs, 5 logs, 5 logs, 1 logs, and then back to dark oak blocks. And then the back here is a little bit different. So you've got logs, 1, logs, 5, logs, 4, logs, 4, logs, 5, logs, 1. So it's a nice simple shape really, there's nothing too complicated going on. And then we come into the sort of next section. As I say, it's best for you to sort of jump in and sort of just look at this yourself and follow it in the sort of bite-sized chunks. It just gives you a little bit of space. But just to talk you through the process, I wanted the doorways to be free high because, you know, I like to be able to jump through my doors when I'm running, so you'll find that that's quite typical of a lot of builds that I do, especially within this style. So our sliding doors are pretty much always going to be 3 blocks high, and then we just needed like a little support beam running along the top there. So this is basically how I decided how tall the building was going to be. So I knew that I wanted a high up sort of floor level, and then we needed the free high door, and then we needed just like a little structural block behind it. So basically that helped me to know that this was going to be a 4 block gap, and then we needed to add some structural beams along the edges. We've got some acacia buttons there just to add a little bit of interest to the build and continue the red theme that is in there. And then we've got these little indents here. Now we could have easily put windows here. I think the main reason that I chose to take this route with it was because I had a massive storage system in here, and sort of this entire section on the inside is all just redstone. I do like showing redstone off in builds, but for the style that the entire island was going for, it didn't make sense. So yeah, we've basically just gone for some stripped oak wood behind there, and we got oak trapdoors going along there just to add a little bit of texture to the front of it. And then just in the indents here, we got some red concrete powder and acacia trapdoors, and that just adds a nice little detailing block. So there's a lot of dark oak, as I said, so we've got dark oak stairs sort of just highlighting all of that. And then because I really feel like it gives a lot more space from the inside, we've got the trapdoors acting as the actual wall, gives us a little bit more room on the inside. So say we wanted to put some like shelving and stuff in, we've got that extra space without taking up any of this extra floor space here. So, you know, it just gives you space to sort of play around with adding a bit of furniture in and, you know, just making things look a little bit more interesting. But yeah, that is pretty much all I've got to say about this layer. We've just introduced some sort of dark oak fence in there, again, just to break it up a little bit and make things a little bit more interesting. Coming up higher, we reach the acacia layer, and originally this was, my acacia texture is a solid block, pretty much. It's a solid colour, you can't see through it. And then we had the jungle trapdoors in front of it, but that looked pretty awful without the resource pack. So we changed that. Coming along this top beam, we've got the dark oak fence gates, and they're just acting as supporting structures for the roof, which I think look really good. I mean, you could have gone for stairs, but I feel like stairs get a little bit chunky, so I think these work really well, especially for this Japanese style. And then we come to the roof, which we've sort of spoken about already, and I have broken the roof down into its different sections going along as well. So yeah, it's as I say, Japanese builds, nice curves, and even more nice curves, and then typically speaking, the roofs tend to go from a really sort of shallow gradient upwards into a bit of a more steeper one. And I think that just really helps things to look a bit more interesting as well. But yeah, as I say, you can come along and look at all the different parts. The dark oak is acting as like a binding type thing, just to add a bit of extra structural integrity to the roof. Makes it look a little bit more sort of realistic and like we're actually holding this thing together. It's not just a bunch of floating stairs. So yeah, basically all the dark oak is there just for structural integrity, and again because it blends in with how the rest of the build looks. I've also got the roof here with literally just the spruce and just the sort of dark oak bindings, just so you can see, if you want, how it's actually completely broken down without having to bust the roof up and build it that way. But yeah, that is pretty much all that I want to say about this one, to be totally honest. Again, I don't really like the idea of doing block to block tutorials. Like, I feel like explaining my process and my thought process for things is more helpful. At least that's the way I see it. Like, if I'm looking for a video on how to build something, or when I used to do that, I'd always prefer the ones that sort of talk through their process, because then it gets you to think that way as well. So, with all of this being said, I hope you like the build. I hope you like the way we've changed it up and that. And yeah, download the world, build away, get this built up if you want, take away some of the things I've said and create your own design. I'd love to see whatever you do. If you build this in your own world, then I'd love to see that. So, you know, just send me a link or something somewhere on YouTube, and I'll follow that and have a look. It'd be really cool just to see some videos of people building up some of the stuff I've got. But yeah, the world download will be in the description. It'll be a link to Planet Minecraft, and then you'll be able to download the world from there. But have a good day, and I will catch you next time.